Hey, I'm talking here. I'm talking here. Put 'em up. Put 'em up.
Hello, every person. Steve Rizzo here, and welcome to Hey, I'm Talking Here. And we have a wonderful show for you this evening. Actually, we have a wonderful show for you every evening that we're on, I must say. I don't mind bragging. I'm allowed. And I hope everyone had a great week. And if you didn't, this is the show to listen to because we can help to better your life. Not that we're experts. It's just that we know things. We know stuff. And that's what I'm saying. This is a show about empowerment, a show that can take you to a better place personally and professionally. And in my view, that is the ultimate success. And this show is brought to you by Conversations with Bob. There you go. That's a book I read. I read it a while ago. I read it. And it's getting wonderful reviews. And you can get it at Amazon. Or you can go to yourinnerbob.com and look it up to see what the book is all about. You could read some sample chapters. We have a couple of pages you could read, and there's some videos you could look at also. But enough of that. Let me bring up my wonderful team. First, we're going to bring up the one and only, my director, my producer, whom I forgot to introduce last week, and he brought it to my attention about 20,000 times so far. Let's bring on my good old friend, Bruce. There he is.
Yeah, good old friend.
Good old friend.
Well, just because I said I had a birthday, now you're calling me old.
That's right. It was your birthday last week, right?
Yeah.
How old are you? Tell everyone.
85.
Come on, serious. How old are you?
I look good for 85, don't I?
Yeah, you really do. That's why I know you're not 85.
So basically, you lie about your age for the first, 30 years, and then kind of settle into what your real age is. And then the next 30 years, you lie about your age.
I don't lie, but I never lied. I don't think there's anything to lie about. You are what you are, and I don't. This age thing is too. It's exaggerated. They put too much emphasis on it.
Yeah,
it's about
really a number. I mean, because basically, I still feel the same way I did maybe 30 years ago. Unless of course you start getting ailments. And then, although last week I was with family, and we started having those old people conversations like, oh, I hurt my arm doing this, and my leg does this, and when I wake up in the morning, this hurts. And I used to listen to those conversations with my mom, and now we're having those conversations.
That's when I get up and walk out. I can't handle that. Here's other old people conversations. I found that if you take the Long Island Expressway and you get off of 47 and then you take Motor Parkway and you go right, I find that's the best. When you start talking that means your life is boring. It's boring. And I just I can't get into that syndrome. Maybe that's another topic for another show. But right now, let's bring up, by the way, folks, we do have a wonderful show for you, and I will introduce this wonderful person soon. But right now, I'm going to bring up the co-host, the person who brings life to this show. Deb, would you come on up? Deb.
Hello. I'm so excited about tonight. Woo!
That's right. And you had this guest. I'm not going to mention the name yet. You had this guest on your show. Find it, right?
Yes, I did. And I thoroughly enjoyed her. And she is a gem, a total gem. I just want her in my life from now on because she enriches it. That's all I'm giving you.
That's cool. That's good. And you're a good person of judgment because you love me. So
I got to say too, Bruce, you were lagging a little bit, but since you're very calm and you don't move around, you almost couldn't tell. Like when I lag, because I get stuck like here, but it's just like, is he lagging or is that just Bruce? But you're back.
Actually, back in the day when people were having these long meetings, I recorded a 30-second loop using StreamYard. Basically, it was just me just kind of looking at the camera and nodding, and it looped. And you can leave the meeting.
Cool. I'd like to give a shout out to a new person that just came on. I don't remember seeing this name before. MD Mustafa. Welcome. Thank you for being on the show, man. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, he's coming in from one of our guests, probably from Kelley's
LinkedIn.
It could be. LinkedIn. Yeah. Chad Cox joining from Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you, Chad. Appreciate you. And
Farah.
yeah, wow.
Beautiful. Hi, Farah. Hi, John.
Lori Ficken's on.
Lori Ficken.
Keep going down. You got him, Debbie. You take care of this, please.
Yeah, Laurie. Hi, Chad. How you doing? From Atlanta, Georgia. And is that Marin?
That's what I think so, Marin. Yeah.
Marin, hi. Hi from LinkedIn. It's good to see you. Good to have you here. So let's get the party started. I can't wait.
Yeah, let's bring her on now. Let's bring Kelley on pretty soon. Stephanie, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We do have a wonderful show, and it's my pleasure to bring to you our guest, Kelley Tyan, and she's the author of Addicted to the Climb, and I'm very interested to find out what this is all about. Welcome, Kelley. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Deb, for showing my book.
Yes,
I appreciate you guys. I already love you. I am very excited about this show.
Wow, that's cool. Well, show's over now, but thank you. It was nice having you on, and I do appreciate your time. And I'm going to start off with what's been on my mind for a while. I know Debbie told me she's read a great part of the book and absolutely loves it, and I trust her. Why don't you tell people what you're all about and tell us what Addicted to the Climb is, why you wrote it, and we want to know more about you.
Oh, thank you. I so appreciate this opportunity. So I'm going to give you a little bit of my backstory so you can get to know me a little bit. I grew up an only child, very blessed to be an only child. I had the best parents ever in the world that just were so loving. So my childhood was just a beautiful, beautiful childhood. And my mom, though, had rheumatoid arthritis from the moment I was born. So she suffered her whole life with rheumatoid. If you're familiar with that disease, it's very crippling for your joints. It attacks your every single joint. So I saw her as a little girl going through lots of stuff. And Deb, you probably saw the picture of when I was in 6th grade. She actually had a halo cast with nails in her head, in the front, back, in bars down. It looked like a horror scene in a movie, but my mom had a smile on her face her whole entire life. She never complained. She was the strongest woman I ever met in my life, going through the pain she was in. So I consider her a climber. And the reason I'm going to give you this backstory, because she really imprinted in my heart, in my youth, growing up as a teenager, that if we give up, it's over. We're not quitters. No matter what happens, we always can decide to take a step forward. And that's what she did. It was amazing watching this woman get out of bed and put her makeup on. And here I am with a headache. And I'm like, oh, I have such a headache, Mom. Do we have to go? She's like, let's go. Where are you taking me? Take me to the mall, wherever. And she'd be the one getting me out of my headache, where she's crippled, like I said. But she was that woman who was just the epitome of strength, resilience. And that's what I saw my whole entire life. So as you grow up and you go through things as an adult that we all do, you know, breakups, trauma, getting fired. I got a cancer diagnosis. I can list all the things that I've been through. I realized that I'm not a quitter. That was what was instilled in me. So over my life, I dug into that. I wanted to not be a quitter. I wanted to be a climber. And I didn't know I was a climber back then until about 3 years ago when I wrote the book. It was a download from God. I want to just say that my life has been nothing but a climb, mentally and physically, really. But I'd love to dive in more about the mental aspect of it, because I think we all need to feel empowered that no matter what life throws at us, we really have to stay addicted to the climb, or else we are going to find ourselves in places that are very dark, very gloomy, full of anxiety, full of worry, full of fear. And I knew I didn't want to live that way. I saw my mom, she kept moving forward, and that's how I wanted to live. So Addicted to the Climb, back to the question, was born from me and growing up in my childhood and always want to be the woman known to climb higher. And that's what my book is, 30 stories that I wrote of things that happened in my life, real stories that I wanted to leave for my children so they can continue the climb when I'm no longer here, and just carry that legacy on, that, you know, for their children, that we're climbing. This is one life we get. We cannot go back. And if we stay stuck, when I got my breast cancer diagnosis, I mean, I cried. I did all the things that normal people do. I'm not like superhuman, but I had to make a decision. Okay, I got the diagnosis. What are we going to do? What is my next step? And that's it. And I took the next step, and I woke up, and I just did what I had to do to keep climbing up that mountain, not even knowing the outcome. Because most of the times we don't know our outcomes, but that's not the point. The point is for us to just get back up over and over and over and climb. And that's really what Addicted to the Climb is all about.
I love that. That is incredibly empowering. And, you know, you're using the word addicted, and you're right. You can get addicted to the climb, or you can get addicted to the decline. And and that's all based on choices. And that's what I was hearing when you were talking, because we go through our lives, and unfortunately, a lot of it is done unconsciously. And our negative addictions are done on an unconscious level, because it comes from toxic labels from your past and how you related to things and how your family related to things. It's the only thing that you know. So you bring those past experiences into every present moment, and you react accordingly. And a lot of people don't realize why their life isn't working. But that's why I love the title, Addicted to the Climb, because that too is also an addiction. And that is dependent upon every step that you take on the climb. And it's not about how many times you're knocked down. It's about how many times you get up. And it sounds like a very empowering book. That's absolutely love it.
Thank you. And you hit it spot on. That's really what it's about. It's not about how many times you get knocked down. We're all going to get knocked down, but it's really about telling yourself and mustering up that belief inside you that I'm capable of taking another step. Let's do this. It's like a constant self-talk that we got to tell ourselves, right?
Yes. It's that positive self-talk, or it could be, as I call it, self-curse talk. And
exactly.
that's when you get into the syndrome. I can't believe this is happening to me again. Every time I try to do something and I never get a break. Why is this happening to me? And when you do, if there's anything that's going to keep you from climbing the ladder to success and happiness, it's self-curse talk. It'll definitely knock you down steps and other rungs on the ladder on your way up. It's that self-curse talk. And what I really love about what you did is that you were very aware, and you learned not so much by what your mother said, by her actions, though. You learned by her actions. And that's what gave you that, because I had that person in my life, my brother Michael, who was 100% disabled from the Vietnam War. He passed away the day before last Christmas Eve. And he's the reason why I do what I do. And I'm not going to get into his story, but I'm correlating your mom, how you learned from her just by her actions. And that's what I did with my brother. It's not that he said a lot to me. It's just that I was always able to say, how the hell is he doing this in his condition? How can he succeed? How could he become what he became? How can he did more than survive? He thrived. And again, he was addicted to the climb. And every step was another notch on his victory belt. Then he won another step. He defied the odds, the doctors that told him what he couldn't do. And I'm assuming, or that's what your mom did. And you learned just by observing.
That is so spot on. I love that. And that's what I tell people. It's like, I'm here to just lead by example. It's not even about the talk, like you said. You hit the nail on the head, and that's exactly what my mom did. She just, her example, her presence, her just getting up and putting her makeup on every day just showed me that everything's possible if you actually believe that it's possible and you just take that step. So that's beautiful. And I hope to be like that to my children, because it's so important. So important. We don't have to be preachy about things, but show people.
I love that. And Kelley, I know your mother, what a big influence she was in your life. And you also mentioned that, you know, she was a very faithful woman. And you also learned probably from her example on that as well. And what I noticed in your book, it was so cleverly written in 3 different kind of segments, which are faith, fuel, and fitness.
Mhm.
And, you know, the very first was faith. And what that said to me is, of all, that's what's most important to you. Is that true?
100%. I don't think I'd be here today without my faith. And again, my mom, she just displayed that every single day of my life. It was faith that got her through. And I learned to develop my own faith along the years and lean in on my faith more and more. I mean, faith is a journey, different journey for all of us. But for me, it's number one in my life. It's how I get out of bed in the morning. If I didn't have faith, I don't know where I'd be. So yes, it's first and foremost.
That's great. Now you were the only child, you said, right?
I was.
What about your father? Was he in the picture somehow?
Yeah. Any props for Pops?
No, we're gonna leave him out. No, you know what? Nobody ever asked me that before, but I do talk about my mom, and you know what? I'm so glad.
She's the one that had the adversity. Yeah.
Well, so my dad was the strongest guy I ever knew. And if I would love to talk about him for a minute, I'm telling you, I grew up very different. I know this doesn't happen to a lot of people. I'm just so blessed in the family I had because I was an only child. My dad was just always happy. He truly was. My dad was never sick. God must have worked that out because he knew my mom was going to need him, right? Yeah. So my dad never took a Tylenol in his whole, literally never took a Tylenol in his whole entire life. He was a runner. He ran 7 miles a day since he was 17. They've been married. They've been together since they were 19. And he was another pillar of strength in my life. But my dad now I told you, he never took a Tylenol. He was never sick. He didn't have colds. It was strange growing up. I'm like, that's just weird that my dad never had anything wrong, a headache. But when my dad 7 years ago, was diagnosed with a rare blood cancer that took us by storm, took us by surprise. It was shell shocking that this guy was diagnosed with a rare blood cancer. And again, he's a miracle. My mom died 6 weeks into his recovery of an aneurysm, died suddenly. But my dad is still here today, 6 years later, thriving, totally healed, back running, and just.
Is that mine or hers? I think she locked up.
I think that was on Bruce's end.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know, but
wait 1 second, Kelley, because you went out there for a minute.
Yeah, she'll be back.
Did I lose?
There she goes. There we go. So he's back to running.
He's back running. It's just amazing. Yes.
It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Faith motivates the climb by supporting self-assurance and inner confidence, particularly during difficult times in life. In my book, Conversations with Bob, Bob says to Bernie, faith is the intangible force that comes to the rescue when your beliefs begin to falter.
Wow.
And I always hold on to that. Faith is so crucial, and people look at it as one-dimensional. It goes off in so many different branches, so many different ways. It's the one thing to hold on to because everything else comes together.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's beautifully said. And thank you, William. And I see a lot of other people popping in with comments. And so thanks you all who's here. We'll get to you as soon as we can. But yeah, and let me just say, I love the book. I mean, what girl wouldn't love this book? But it's not just for girls, it's for everybody. But you stayed true to you, and your favorite color's pink. So why wouldn't it be pink? It's gotta be pink, people. So be rosy and happy and read this. I love that. So what made you, you have been on my show, but I didn't even really ask you when you came to the table to write this up. Did it come to you right away to do like 3 segments like that? How did that come to fruition?
Well, because I always considered myself faith fueled. I'm fueled by faith. So the fuel part is, my mind, all my my mind is fueled by faith. So that to me is the most important thing. What are you fueling yourself with? And of course, being 10 years in the fitness industry, having my own fitness business, that came natural. So I was pretty much considered the faith-fueled fitness coach for a long time.
I love that.
Yes,
Me too.
yes. And then the fuel is really, yes, it's the mind, but it was also how we nourish our bodies and take care of ourselves. So fuel is like embodying your body, mind and body and spirit. And so, yes, it kind of came natural. And I knew that I like reading very short stories. So I wrote the way I like to read.
Nice.
And I just wanted to, tell my stories. I didn't know there was going to be 30, but I kept writing and I was like, oh, I want to just share this one. And really, my book was written for my children. I wanted them to really have something to remember me by and to hear all that mom went through and how she kept climbing and how she became the resilient woman that I am today. So, but then 30 stories, and then I just broke it up into the sections. So
wow. That's really good. And what you just said too, this is empowering. This is powerful information because it's not just what we fuel our body with food. It's what you fuel your mind with and your soul and what you put yourself and who you choose to put, spend your time with, what you listen to for music, what movies you watch, all of the things. And I don't believe that I think that people know enough, but if you really are aware of it enough to change what you're listening to, watching, and who you're with as needed to grow and be better and to fuel your mind and soul and spirit with that. That's a really good point. And I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you.
I like the whole. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Sorry. No, I'm just in such agreement because I've had to change so many things in my life over the years. Yeah. And the difference that it made, the empowerment that I feel is only because I tweaked things in my life. I stopped listening. I stopped doing. I stopped watching. I stopped, and it's not all perfect, but there were things that were intercepting my belief system about myself. It was defeat. I felt defeat sometimes from things I was consuming. And you're right. It wasn't until I became aware of that. And that is so important because most of us just, like one of you guys said, we just live every day. We're not thinking about our thoughts. We're just going about our day. We're watching the same things. We're listening to the same things. We're with the same people. And until you become aware of what you're actually consuming every single day, you don't know unless you actually pay attention. So for me, yes. I had to say, wait a minute, who is my circle that I'm with? Like, why aren't I growing in this way? What am I watching all the time? Maybe I should change my reading instead of, and this is just an example, I'm not reading this, but Cosmo magazine. Remember that one?
Yeah.
But like trashy magazines and stuff. Now I pick up books that are going to empower me. And that's what I'm consuming on a daily basis now. I'm listening to great podcasts now that are faith-based, that are empowering me. So my thoughts are always staying on the positive things instead of dragging me down. But again, if you're not aware of these things,
you just humdrum with your life.
Yeah. Awareness is the key that'll set you free 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And that's the key, because a lot of people go their entire lives, don't even know that something's wrong. They just know their life isn't working, but they can't pinpoint where it is. You can't fix something unless you know it's broken. And I believe what you mean by awareness is you're going through the course of a day and it feels like life is consuming you and you're not feeling right. You have a bad attitude. You become aware and you say to yourself, I'm not feeling right. What's going on here? What am I doing? And instantly you automatically should know that what have you been thinking when you woke up that morning? What has been on your mind? Because those thoughts stayed with you. They manifested into more like thoughts came into play, which caused you to feel a certain way, which gave you a certain attitude. And you take that with you the entire day, and then you blame life and circumstances for your life not working because you're not aware of what you're doing to yourself. But as soon as you become aware that you haven't been thinking right, you've been thinking thoughts that are going to put you in a particular mood, that only then can you shift your way of thinking to something more productive and creative. from that
I
point.
saw a couple of comments that we didn't get to read, but Brett, you said at the end of the day, my faith is the only fuel needed, especially during those dark days. Yeah.
Yep.
And this is great testimony, right? That people are saying, this is what I do. This is what works time and time again. Eric Bam's with us. Happy Friday Eve. I'm wearing bedazzled pants. I'd like you just lighten up the day, Eric.
I would love to see those.
I know.
Knowing,
You have some too.
knowing,
I have some.
knowing Eric, he's probably naked from the waist down, but
You gotta love it. But I want to add something. One of you said so the way I've changed, you know how I said I've changed things over the months and years in my life. And you know what really was the game changer for me is I used to run out of bed and just start the day, get on my phone. And I know we hear this a lot. Everybody talks about it, but my morning routine was really transformational for me personally. Like I get up now, and this is kind of newer, even though I love, I have a deep faith, but I get on my knees now. I never did that. It's pretty new. And it puts me in, my day is so much different. And I've only been doing this a few months, but the minute I wake up, I roll over, I just get on my knees. And you know what? It's really just about being thankful. Sometimes I'm just thankful that I can get out of bed in the morning. I'm thankful that I slept good, or maybe I didn't sleep good, but I just give a lot of thanks. And I start my day off like that. And it's puts me in such a beautiful mind space, no matter what's happening in the morning. If my son's chaotic or my husband's running around, like I'm just very peaceful because I started my day surrendering and saying, for me, it's God. What do you have on the agenda today for us? I'm so excited to be here. I'm going to show up as the woman you want me to show up as. And then I get up and I make my coffee and I do a few other things, but my morning routine is very sacred. I read my Bible, I do stuff like that too, but dropping on your knees, even if you're not spiritual, you guys, you don't have to have my kind of faith. I'm not saying that, but just getting on your knees in gratitude can change your day right from the beginning, no matter how you feel.
That's the beginning of your climb. That's what you do. Yeah. I do something very similar. I won't take the covers off until I've shifted my way of thinking to what's working rather than fixating on what isn't working. I bless the things that life has given me rather than complaining or cursing what life is currently throwing at me. People don't realize this, is that we all have the power to do it.
Exactly.
And there are some people right now could be listening right now and they'll say, well, you don't know what I'm going through. And the response is, well, it doesn't matter what you're going through. I'm just saying there's something within you that can meet any challenge head on, but it's got to start off with faith, knowing that somehow, some way things will change in your favor. But here's the thing. It'll happen when it's supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. And people put a time constraint on it sometimes. People get out and they pray for something, and all of a sudden a week goes by and they go, oh, I knew this wasn't going to happen. Every time I pray for something, it never works. And yet they expect the prayer to be answered, even though they just squash the seed possibility from manifesting into what it is that they wanted. You got to believe that's going to happen in the timing when it's supposed to.
That's one of my chapters.
Yes.
Release the outcome. You have to release the outcome. And if I could share my favorite acronym, it's right what Steve's talking about. It is about first, release the outcome because you don't know what's going to happen in the day, but trusting in having your faith. The acronym is TRUST, actually. And for me, it's total reliance upon spiritual timing, because we can't control the timing of anything. And I learned that from one of my mentors. I didn't make that one up. I wish I did, because it's so good. But when you're trusting that things will work out, in releasing the outcome and saying, you know what, I'm just going to trust that it's going to go in my favor, totally relying upon spiritual timing is really how it brings me peace to know that it's out of my hands. I can only do what I can do, which is keep climbing.
And when you do that, serendipitous things come your way.
They do.
It's just absolutely amazing. It's like you're talking about faith, and I just think it's just a great thing to talk about. But I believe there are 4 cylinders of life that make up your body. It's the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, and physical. Mm-hmm. And if one of them is out of sync, eventually it will affect the others. Eventually. But that's where faith comes in, because faith is the foundation that holds these 4 cylinders together. And it's just a matter of knowing that you're going in the right direction. And another thing people need to understand, and we talked about this in one of our shows, Deb, is that whatever it is that you desire in your life, whatever it is that's happening, you have to know that you're going to be confronted with a challenge at some point. You are going to have problems. That's why we're here. And you have to know that. And I think knowing that is the key to success and happiness, because you don't have any preconceived ideas that life is just picking you out of a crowd, or that a higher power is punishing you for something that you did or didn't do. So know whatever it is that you desire in your life, whatever it is you're going through, it may not be easy, and you're going to be confronted with challenges. Some of us will be hit with insurmountable odds, but that doesn't mean it can't be done. That just means that your faith has to be even stronger than you thought. And that is always your choice and your responsibility. Always.
You know what, Kelley? I was just thinking, when you had your cancer diagnosis, I mean, you've always been a faithful person, and you had really amazing examples of that who raised you. When you got your cancer diagnosis, did that draw you closer to your faith and almost put things in perspective? Or did it level you up in your faith?
It did. It really did, because I knew I couldn't do it alone, and I didn't want to do it alone. And that's where I did lean in even more in my faith, because at 3 a.m, when I was feeling afraid or scared because I didn't know that outcome, nobody knows their cancer diagnosis, the outcome that's going to happen. I mean, fear would be gripping, almost like strangling me. And so I had a choice. Am I going to let it strangle me where I'm suffocating and drowning in my sorrow and my pity and my fear? Or am I going to choose faith over fear? So I really kicked it in. I was like, okay, my mom was the example. If she could do it, I can too. And honestly, even just praying in the night, and just, it brought me so much more peace than if I didn't. So over and over, I would just say to myself, faith over fear, Kelley. Faith over fear. I probably said that a million times a day when I was going through that.
That almost sounds like a title for another book for you. Faith over fear.
Yes.
You can call it the F factor. Faith or fear.
Of course. You're writing my next book.
The F factor. Faith or fear. And then the subtitle is your choice and your responsibility.
Yes.
But you know, the other thing, and there's a ton of people. So there are Chris Chavez and Eric Flournoy and Joe Ingram and Rex Sykes. And I mean, there's a bunch of people watching it. Wow, that's a lot of pretty.
And Steve, did you notice the and Steve? My hair was done just for you, Joe. I just want you to know that.
And I want to just give a shout out to Brett, my guy Brett Packard.
Oh yes, yes. And then there's William on here, and everyone's piping
Debbie,
in.
why don't you read some of the comments here?
I sure can.
Please.
I sure can.
Bruce, can you bring some of them up?
Oh, well,
Chris.
we like that. Chris Rouse, rock stars. Back at you, buddy.
Yes.
Eric Bam, my morning routine. Watch Steve Rizzo, Falcon Islands, eat a banana, dominate. In my bedazzled pants. Henry Hoffman, you have to guard your mind every day. Jim Rohn, yes. Yes.
So good.
Eric, hey, Eric. Good evening, folks. Hi to you.
Love you, Eric.
Yes. And then there's
Keep going,
Rex
Bruce.
Sykes. Yay, 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 and yay. And Chris says trust. Thank you, Chris, for being here.
Trust, faith. Yep.
Shafiq.
Yeah. It's always work. Eric says it's always working. If it's not working for us, it's working in us. Can't be deceived because we don't always see it.
Wow.
Love it. We love you,
Well
Eric.
said, Eric.
Joe Ingram, as a higher power myself, I understand I'm not picking on you. I'm challenging you.
Oh, he's a funny guy.
Oh, he is. He's just, I think
love it.
it's hysterical. I know. But the other part is when you're talking, Rex Sykes, yay, yay, and yay. Hi, Rex. What a brilliant people on here. Also authors on here. But, you know, as you talk, okay. One more one. William, and I saw Snicky. Let me just try to put it out there. I do the same, Kelley. I start each day saying thank you to God for the gift of another day. And he gives me such an inner peace and empowerment. My stress completely goes away in the moment. Well, until I get to the office, haha. To Steve's point, I truly believe faith is the magic spice, link, and key to a well-balanced life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's more than just a word. It's more than just a word. It's even hard to explain. You know, it's just.
It's a feeling, honestly. I feel my faith rises up, my belief meter. I always say I have a belief meter, and I got to keep it on high. I got to dial it up when I'm feeling down and out. And it does. It's a feeling that.
How do you do that? How do you dial it up, Kelley?
Honestly, it's all about the way I talk to myself. And I know it sounds funny, but it's just what I've learned to do over the years, because listen, I am so like anybody else. Like I have the doubts but I got sick of feeling that way and sick of feeling doubtful about myself and sick of feeling these fearful things. I mean, my daughter was in this two terrible car accidents and totaled her car 2 times. Talk about being petrified and fearful when she left the house to get in her car again. It was gripping me. And you just get to a point where you got to get to a point, I should say, where you get so sick of your negative self-talk telling you how afraid you should be. Don't do it. Don't step out. Stay in comfort. She's going to, all these thoughts that come in our head. I just started doing more affirmations, and I know maybe you don't do those things, but I kept saying, and my mantra is the one, I think I shared that with you.
Please do share that. I love this.
This has really been the game changer as well. And I say it a lot. I have it written on my gym mirror, my bathroom mirror. It's on sticky notes, but I will not be defeated by my inner negative voice. And just saying that out loud, wherever you are, when voices try to tell you you're not good enough, like you're going to be fearful, to doubt yourself, stay in all that stuff, say it out loud. And I promise you, you will gain power inside you. Power will rise up and you will feel so differently and feel just strength that you didn't even know you had. I will not be defeated by my inner negative voice. It's almost like look in the mirror and tell yourself and point at yourself and say, listen, I'm not going to be defeated by my inner negative voice.
That's so well said. It's so easy to do.
Don't you love her? Like who wouldn't love her? This is amazing.
Some people call that voice the ego. Some people call it the troublemaker. Some people say it's the devil, which is a little melodramatic. But if you listen to it, there will be hell to pay. Wow. I call it the big mouth inside your head because that's what it is. And it can defeat you. Oh, that's where self-curse talk comes from. Yeah. And it's so real. And the more you listen to it and adhere to it, it controls you. It's when you're setting out to achieve a goal, and then all of a sudden, as I said, you're going to be confronted with a challenge. And all of a sudden that big mouth goes, see, I told you this wasn't going to work. You invested all this time and energy. You put all this money into it for what? So it's not going to work again? You know darn well that dreams are for other people and you're not one of them. And that negative loop just keeps going. And before you know it, people are walking this planet with a negative belief system.
Right.
And they're not even aware why it's happened. So like you said, and it's so well said, Kelley, if you could nip that voice in the bud before emotional havoc blossoms, you can take control of your life. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes and the more empowered you become and the easier the climb.
It's so true. It is so true. And the more you put things on repeat, good or bad, so the more you keep saying the negative to yourself, you actually convince yourself. This is science. Like there's science behind this. You actually, the more you tell yourself, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that, I'm ugly, I'm not good, whatever, you actually believe that.
Of course you do.
So changing that to flipping the script into no, I am capable. Telling yourself all day, you know what? I'm capable. I got this. I can do this. Even if you're unsure,
that's where faith comes in.
You actually convince yourself, because I know it's true because I've done it. I wasn't a speaker. I wasn't doing any of this stuff, but I wasn't an author. But I kept saying, I'm an author. I'm writing a book. Before I even wrote the book, I see myself signing books. So you have to visualize the best about yourself until it becomes that way. And the more you do it, I promise you, practice, speaking life into yourself.
It's like you said. Yeah. It's
That is
the awareness.
That's
It's
good.
the awareness. The more you become aware, the more
Yes.
you have the opportunity to nip it in the bud and continue with your positive self-talk, the optimistic side of the more you, and it's not easy. It's not easy, but I know you'll agree with me. The more you do it, the more it becomes a part of who you are. And before you know it, as soon as you find yourself in that negative syndrome, you just go, ha ha, no, you're not going to do that to me. I won't allow this to happen. Yeah. And it's amazing. It's total empowerment is what it is.
It is.
And then you get to a point where people start coming up to you going, you're different, or you look different, you act different. And they're trying to look at you as what is different about you? It's because you have this aura, this energy where people just are radiating. And this is not the ego talking. It's just that you're more presentable to people.
Yeah.
You know,
and you're open to when you get to a place where you believe you're worthy and you deserve those things of good, kindness, peace, joy. Then then those things they are attracted to you also. But Kelley, before I started reading comments and whatnot, and also, by the way, hi, Scott Schilling's here too. Cool. I wanted to say, before I started reading those comments, you were talking about lying in bed and being so afraid with that cancer diagnosis, and you would continuously repeat to yourself, faith over fear. So even back then, you chose to repeat things to yourself. Your inner voice was trying to close down and shut down the negative and the fear and the gravity of the situation into faith over fear. Kelley, you've got this, faith over fear. And I just think that if we learn nothing else from you, you've done this. Your faith is strong, but you also have changed your inner dialogue to be a positive one. And when you start to think about the things that you think you might not be able to do, you say, yes, I can. And you change the narrative. So that's amazing. How many years ago was your cancer diagnosis?
15.
15. Okay. Yay. 15.
15. I'm celebrating that all day.
Heck yeah. No doubt about it.
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
How many kids do you have?
I have 2. Yeah. And they're not really kids, which is so sad.
Time flies, Kelley. It goes too fast.
They're always going to be your kids.
They're always my babies.
I have grandchildren. I have 2 grandchildren now. So
that's exciting.
Yeah. Kelley, what are you doing now? What you've written a book, you have a newsletter, right? You have a website.
I do. I have a website. You can work with me. There's 3 different ways you can work with me. Yep, there it is. I do coaching. I do some one-on-one coaching. I take a few clients a year on that. I do have a mastermind for women that is closed right now. So because it's in progress, and it will be running again in January. If you're a faith-fueled woman that wants to rise up stronger in your faith, and that's not even on my website, because I'll open the doors separately in end of October to get on the wait list for that. And then just speaking. I'm on a lot of work. I do a lot of workshops for women, speaking engagements, conferences, things like that, to empower women. So those are the ways you can work with me, and it's right on my website.
Cool. Excellent. And they can get your book on Amazon?
And they can get my book on Amazon. Yes, Addicted to the Climb. And I also have some great resources that are free on my website as well. And listen, if you're on LinkedIn, follow me on LinkedIn, because if you want my 7 power statements, just DM me. Yeah. And I will send that over to you, because those are my top 7 power statements that have changed my life. I recite them myself. I have them printed out, and we all need those reminders of who we are.
Is there a reason why you chose 7?
No, there's not. I don't know why I chose 7, because
7 is supposed to be the number of God. That's why.
That's my life path number.
Yeah.
When they have
It
you add
is?
up the number, yeah, 7's my life path number.
That's my birth force number in numerology.
What? I didn't even know all this. Wow.
Yeah.
Kelley, I signed up for your email list, and I get messages, from Addicted to the Climb from you that you send out to all. And I love those. So how do people get on your email list? Also through KelleyTyan.com?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. I love it.
I think it's great. And could we, before we go off, let's read a couple of more comments. And I'd like to show her book again and let her talk about how she can get the book and
yeah. I love the book. It's a comfortable read too. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it gives it to you straight. And I love that you have stories in there so people can read your story and identify with it in their own life. And that it's in 3 sections like that it kind of keeps you on track on. It's just a good book. And I love how there's places in there where I just love it. And there's pink
journal. I have a prayer. Yes.
Yeah, the prayers and journaling and all of that. So this is the book, guys, Addicted to the Climb. You can get it on Amazon.
I love the title.
Yes, it's
Thank
so
you.
good.
Thank you.
So
Really
good.
do.
I knew that you guys would love each other because it's some of the things that Kelley says and her belief in it, and faith and all of that. Of course, we all have it. But you, Kelley and Steve say some things that sound very similar and inspire me the same way. So I just knew after you and I met that you and Steve had to meet. It was just so Henry Hoffman.
Let's read a couple of more of these.
Faith is a feeling just like fear. 2 sides of the same coin. Yeah.
Yep.
And Kelley chooses faith over fear. Brett says, great idea, Kelley. Talk to yourself out loud. Dominate those negative thoughts with positive ones, just like we would do with another person. Oh, that's so true. And we do say, and Kelley, you and I were talking about that before. If we talk, like in the day, like we're better, we catch ourselves. But if you would talk to people the way sometimes we talk to ourselves, people would wonder where you're coming from and not like you very much, right? So why would we do that to ourselves?
You got to talk to yourself like you're talking to your children.
Well, that sometimes can be nowadays.
And
wait a minute, not in my house.
Wait, maybe not. Let me think of someone I'm nice to.
Well, because when you do get on that negative self-talk thing, it is the child from within that's being hurt.
True.
It all comes from your past. All that negative stuff comes from your past. You wouldn't be able to recall it unless it happened to you. The thing is that you're recalling it on an unconscious level. That's where it comes from. That's why people keep going back. They go 2 steps up and 3 steps back because they're not aware that self-curse talk is just bringing them back again. It's more powerful than the positive thoughts that they thought they had on their journey to success. Those are just temporary, but it's those dominant shadow beliefs that destroy people. They can't get rid of them. And you nailed it, Kelley, when you said the only way you can get rid of it is first you have to be aware of what you're doing. Yes. Awareness is the key that'll set you free all the time. And that's the only, and it's got to be a constant awareness throughout the entire day. It's like, oh shit, I did it again. Okay. Oh, I did it again. And the more you do that, all of a sudden you just go, oh, no, you're not doing it. And it's that quick. And then you start smiling, right? And then the humor part, your humor being, that higher part of you is going, you're getting this now. Your subconscious is actually responding to this climb to add to your book. That's why you get addicted to the climb. Right. I get it now. I didn't even read the book yet, and I get it.
Yeah.
You're addicted to it because it's so empowering.
Yes.
As when you finally get it, you go, holy shit, I did it again. And before you know it, you just go, wow, I am now in control of my life instead of it controlling me.
Or at least for 5 minutes. And then when it happens again, I'll bring myself back.
It'll always happen. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Oh God, it's always going to
happen. Lynn Serrano shared this. She's with us. Hi, Lynn. Joe Ingram, I have a beef meter. It's not the same as Kelley's meter.
My meter is a belief.
Dial up the ribeye. Dial up the.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
All right. Kelley, thank you so much for being on the show. You were wonderful. Folks, you got to get her book. It's on Amazon. Addicted to the Climb.
Addicted to the Climb.
Oh, you could sing my theme song.
Let's make one up. Do you already have a theme song?
No, but I want one.
Oh, let's do it. Well, Steve Rizzo is also a musician, so we'll have him write it, and then we can sing it.
We'll talk about that. Wait, when we end the show, don't leave, Kelley, because I want to talk to you backstage.
Okay.
You want to talk? He's going to say, "Hey, I'm talking."
I got to do a couple. I got to share a couple of things I don't want no one else to know about.
Ooh, I love that talk.
I'm just saying. Okay.
Oh, Eric, good stuff. Definitely on my list. Oh, thanks.
Thanks
Eric
so
said
much, everybody.
Rizzy Hendrix. What did he say? Rizzy Hendrix.
You never know. Sometimes he'll write things the way he says it, and then you got to really.
Folks, thank you for your comments. We absolutely love you. Kelley, you did a scrupulous job, and thank you for helping people get to a better place in their lives, personally, professionally. Really appreciate you. You got to get the book, folks, Addicted to the Climb. I'm going to get it. That's all I know. Thank you very much. Enjoy yourselves, folks. See you the next time. Dum, dum, da, 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 da.